Hi you guys, my name is Izzy Wheeler and I'm going to be presenting my research article to you. So the name of my research article is called The Effectiveness of Guided Imagery in Treating Compassion Fatigue and Anxiety of Mental Health Workers. It is by Kylie, Sagal, Neff, Delata, Pike, Spilsbury, and Albert. It is published in the Social Work Research Journal in 2018, and I really picked this article because at my field placement I've noticed that a lot of the social workers I've worked with are very burnt out and would not recommend social work to other people, and so I just thought this technique might be beneficial for me and for any of you guys who are going to be doing field placement next semester. So to give you guys some background on what the article is about, basically they use this scale. It's called the Professional Quality of Life Scale, and it's derived from the theory that helping professionals experience both compassion satisfaction, where you just feel good about helping people, but they also experience compassion fatigue, which is branched out into two different categories of burnout and secondary traumatic stress, or STS. The researchers define burnout as the physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion resulting from long-term engagement in emotionally demanding conditions. So this could be anything from anger, hopelessness, or frustration. The second is the STS, or as we learn it, vicarious trauma. It is a harmful reaction to work-related trauma, and it occurs as a result of exposure to clients' accounts of traumatic experiences. And now the DSM-5 actually synonymously views it as PTSD because they have the same symptoms as PTSD. So the researchers believe that guided imagery, or GI, can help cope with the compassion fatigue, which is a relaxation technique that relies on descriptive language to facilitate listener visualization of calming images. And I'll show you guys an example of what that's like later. And so the researchers, their primary question was, how does GI impact compassion fatigue and anxiety? And they hypothesized that GI will have a greater impact on short-term state anxiety and smaller decreases in compassion fatigue and stress. For the ethics, before they began the research, they gained consent from all of the participants that were in it and really explained the process of what was going to be going on, so they weren't blindsided by anything. They also made sure to note that everything on the survey was confidential, their identities would be anonymous, and the research was also reviewed by the Case Western Reserve University's IRB. And in addition to all of this, the participants were given all the information to contact both the investigators and the IRB if they felt like they needed to do that. Since this research was trying to explain the impact of GI on compassion fatigue, it is labeled as explanatory. And all of the research is done through standardized tests, and there's no open-ended questions, free response kind of thing, and so it is quantitative research. And since the research is gathered over a long period of time and at different periods throughout the research, I labeled it as longitudinal. So onto the participants. There were 69 total participants. They were all from a nonprofit mental health agency, and this included all of the employees, so this could be the licensed social workers, counselors, psychiatrists, case managers, support staff, even management was participating in the research. They were recruited face-to-face or by email, and mostly female. I labeled this sample as purposive due to the fact that all of the participants were in the nonprofit mental health agency and they had some knowledge on what compassion compassion fatigue was, and so it wasn't necessarily random. For data collection, they did a bunch of pre and post tests. So there were standardized over 4 weeks and 3 breaks per week. The control group took their breaks as they normally would, just taking a walk, eating, whatever they normally do. And then the treatment group was able to have an MP3 player and choose from 6 pre-recorded GI recordings and just listen to them during their break. They're from 6 to 15 minutes long. Just to give you an example of what this is like, pull this up for you. So this is actually linked in the article, so this is one of the options that they could choose from to listen to.
Focus your attention on your breathing. Notice the cool air going in and the warm air going out. Your eyes may blink and feel tired, but try to keep them open. This is your time.
So that's just an example. It is very relaxing, and it's used a lot with like yoga or meditating, so I'm sure you guys have heard something like that before. For the measurement, like I said, a lot of pre and post tests. So there were 3 pre and post tests given before the research started and then after the 4 weeks were over. The first is the Pro-QOL-V questionnaire, which is a 30-item questionnaire to measure burnout and STS. Next is the PSS test, which is a 10-item questionnaire about their thoughts and feelings, which measured their stress. And then the PSQI question 6 was just one question they answered to measure their sleep quality, which could be very good, fairly good, fairly bad, or very bad. Next, they had a pre and post given after every break they took. So again, this is the 3 times a week over a 4-week period, which was the States Trait Anxiety Inventory 6-item short form, which, as it says, is the short version of this questionnaire. It's normally 2 sets of 20 questions, but because the participants were at work and only had so much time, they gave them the shortened version to measure their anxiety. To analyze their data, they used statistical analysis and gave their measures and percentages and used unpaired t-tests. The results showed that there was a significantly reduced short-term anxiety. So for those STAI tests that they were given before and after their breaks, they showed that in the treatment group, they had an anxiety decrease of 3.56 per person, whereas the control group had a decrease of 1.75 per person. There was actually no significance on compassion fatigue, which is kind of a bummer, but they also found that there was a significant result of sleep quality, which they really weren't looking at for their overall questions, but they did find that the sleep did increase on an average of 0.45 points, and the control group only increased on average of 0.03. So overall, this study just, gives us another self-care option for whenever we're in our field placements or just feeling a little stressed out. We could take a break and maybe listen to one of these GI recordings, just 6-15 minutes, just recharge and be able to go back and help people to the best of our ability. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for listening.